My father was in hospice when we put a tarp over the backyard to shield him from the sun. Our neighbor reported it as an illegal structure, then called code enforcement. The officer arrived while I was holding my dad's hand, begging him to hold on. She watched from her porch as he gasped for air. Later that night, she slid a note under our door that read, "That's one less." I don't know what broke me more, her words, or the police officer saying, "She's done this before. This is gonna be long." I'm not a writer. I'm just a pissed off son who never really got over what happened. Some days I still see her damn face when I close my eyes. Some people say you have to forgive. I say screw that. My name's Caleb. I grew up in a small town outside Lubbock, Texas. Real small. Maybe 4,000 people. The kind of place where everybody knows your business before you even pull into the driveway. Our house was on a quiet street with old ranch houses and big, patchy yards. Dad bought it back in the 70s after coming home from Vietnam. He said he wanted space to breathe. Dad was the kind of man who didn't ask for much. Worked as a mechanic. Drank his coffee black. Listened to old country on the radio. Never really complained, even when the world gave him every reason to. Fast forward a few decades, cancer got him. Pancreatic. If you know, you know, it's a death sentence. By the time we caught it, it had already spread everywhere. Hospice nurses started coming by the house. They did their best, but after a while, all Dad wanted was to sit outside under the oak tree in the backyard. Said he wanted to die. With the sun on his skin. Only problem? September in Texas isn't kind. Even when the mornings are cool, the afternoons will melt your damn shoes off. So I bought a tarp. A big blue one from Home Depot. Got some posts and rope. Made a little shaded area under the tree. It wasn't pretty. It wasn't permanent. But it kept Dad comfortable, and that was all that mattered to me. Apparently, not to everyone. Enter our neighbor, Faye Whitmore. She lived 2 doors down, but that didn't stop her from policing the whole damn street like she was the HOA president, and no, we didn't even have an HOA. Faye was a retired schoolteacher. The type who never really let go of being in charge. You know the type, the rules are rules people. Except, funny thing, the rules only mattered when they benefited her. First day the tarp went up, I saw her standing in her driveway, arms crossed, squinting at it like it personally insulted her. Didn't say a word to me. Just watched. Second day, code enforcement came. It was around 10 in the morning. I was sitting outside with Dad. He was half asleep, breathing hard, whispering nonsense under his breath. I wiped his forehead and kept telling him I was there. That's when the white city truck pulled up. Out stepped this young guy, maybe mid-20s, looking like he didn't even want to be there. He walked halfway up the driveway, saw Dad in the bed under the tarp, and froze. I stood up, ready for a fight. Before I could say anything, he put up his hands and said, "Hey man, I get it. I'm sorry. I have to log the complaint. But you're fine. I'm not writing you up." He turned around and left without even taking out his notepad. When he got back to his truck, he gave a dirty look across the street. I followed his gaze. There she was. Miss Faye Whitmore. Standing on her porch, sipping iced tea, smirking. Dad died later that night. It wasn't peaceful. People like to say people pass away in their sleep. Nah. He fought for every damn breath. Choking. Gasping. Gripping my hand so tight I thought he might break it. And all I could do was sit there. Helpless. Around 11 p.m., after the coroner left, after my brother and I sat staring at the wall for an hour without speaking, I heard something at the front door. A soft scrape. Like something being pushed under. I opened the door. No one there. But there was a piece of paper, folded in half. I picked it up and unfolded it. 4 little words. That's one less. My knees gave out. I sat down right there on the porch. Didn't cry. Didn't even feel angry yet. Just empty. I called the cops. Showed them the note. Told them everything. The officer, older guy, heavy-set, name tag said Martinez read it, sighed, and shook his head. She's done this before, he said quietly. Turns out, Miss Whitmore had a history. Not just code complaints. Not just anonymous harassment. She had a reputation for nudging people out. Old neighbors. People she didn't like. Hell, even a young couple who built a shed without asking her permission. Nobody ever pressed charges. Nothing ever stuck. It was like living next to a serial killer, but nobody had the guts to call her out. I decided right then and there, she was gonna learn what loss felt like. After Dad's funeral, I didn't talk to anyone for a while. I just sat in that empty house, staring at the backyard. The tarp was still there, fluttering in the breeze like a damn flag over a grave. I couldn't move it. Not yet. It felt like the last thing I had left of him. Meanwhile, Miss Whitmore went on living her life like nothing happened. Planting her roses. Walking her stupid little terrier around the block. Waving to neighbors like she didn't have blood on her hands. That's when something inside me snapped. I wasn't just sad anymore. I wasn't just hurt. I was angry. And anger? Anger's a hell of a lot more useful than grief. First thing I did was start digging. I found out Faye wasn't exactly the sweet old lady she pretended to be. Her property had a few issues. Like the unpermitted second shed she built behind her house. Like the fence that was 3 feet taller than city code allowed. Like the illegal storm drain she rigged up that dumped runoff into the neighbor's yard during heavy rains. Funny how she loved the rules. When they weren't about her. I documented everything. Took photos. Got drone footage from a buddy who owed me a favor. Got old city maps. Compared property lines. Turned out her fence? It wasn't even on her property. She was taking up almost 3 feet of the neighbor's land. 3 feet might not sound like much, but in a small town, land is land. And people get real touchy about their boundaries. I went to the city anonymously. Dropped off a fat envelope labeled ATTN, Code Enforcement. Inside, photos. Diagrams. Official complaint forms. I made sure to file everything in the most bureaucratic, slow-moving way possible. No single complaint that could get tossed out easy. A dozen small ones. Layer after layer. A death by paperwork. While the city chewed through the mess I gave them, I made another move. You see, Faye had a reputation, sure. But nobody ever said anything publicly. People were scared of her little web of connections. Church friends. Old students. City officials she tutored. I wasn't scared anymore. I printed out copies of the note she left under my door. Blew them up to poster size. Taped them all over the neighborhood at 5 a.m. one morning. Every street sign. Every lamppost. Every mailbox that wasn't locked. That's one less. A note from Faye Whitmore after a dying man passed away under hospice care. I didn't sign my name. Didn't need to. Everybody knew. By noon, people were whispering. By 3 p.m., Faye had ripped down every poster she could find. By 5 p.m., her phone started ringing off the hook. Church ladies. Old friends. Neighbors she thought were loyal. Some asking if it was true. Some flat out telling her she was a monster. The next morning, city code enforcement showed up at her door. Not one officer this time, 3. They spent hours walking her property. Measuring things. Taking photos. Asking questions. I sat on my porch with a cup of coffee, watching. Didn't wave. Didn't smile. Just watched. It was only the beginning. The complaints were only the start. A week after the city inspection, Faye got slapped with fines. Big ones. Thousands of dollars. Not just for the unpermitted shed, or the fence, or the drain. But for a bunch of smaller things too. Cracked sidewalk. Improper trash storage. Even a broken curb she probably didn't know she was responsible for. The city wasn't playing around anymore. Once they opened the file, they went after everything. Neighbors who used to avoid her started circling like vultures. Turns out, a lot of people had old grudges. The guy next door filed a civil suit over the property line. The woman across the street filed a noise complaint about her damn terrier yapping at all hours. It was beautiful. Slow. Ugly. I didn't have to lift a finger. But it still wasn't enough. Not for me. I wanted her to feel alone. One night about a month after Dad died, I was sitting on the porch when a car pulled up in front of Faye's house. A man got out. Middle-aged. Wore a suit even though it was 90 degrees. He didn't knock. Just stood at the edge of her property and called her name. Faye Whitmore! Lights flicked on inside. She came out on the porch, wearing a robe, looking rattled. The man pulled something out of his briefcase. Held it up. You've been served, he said loud enough for half the block to hear. She took the papers with shaking hands. Started reading. Her knees buckled and she sat down hard on the steps. Turns out, she wasn't just getting sued for the property dispute. She was getting sued by the family she harassed out of the neighborhood 2 years earlier. I hadn't even known about that one. But apparently once word got out about her little. That's one less. Note, other victims grew a backbone. That wasn't the twist though. Here's the twist. The papers also mentioned something criminal. Harassment of the elderly. Violation of end-of-life rights. Apparently, in Texas, interfering with someone's hospice care can be considered a criminal offense under certain conditions. All it took was the right lawyer sniffing blood in the water. Her little complaint about the tarp? The call that brought code enforcement while my dad was gasping for his last breaths? Combined with the note she left after? That could maybe, just maybe, be used against her. It wasn't guaranteed. It wasn't a slam dunk. But it was enough for a county investigator to open a file. Meanwhile, her church kicked her off the women's committee. She stopped getting invited to the Sunday potlucks. Her so-called friends stopped returning her calls. In a town like ours, being hated is almost a death sentence. The walls started closing in. She put her house up for sale 2 months later. High asking price. No offers. Word had gotten around. Nobody wanted to live where a hospice harassing witch once reigned. But I still wasn't done. Not yet. I had one more thing planned. The part that would make sure she remembered what it felt like to have something ripped away from her. Something she couldn't fix with fines, or apologies, or lies. I waited until the "for sale" sign had been in her yard for 6 weeks. No bites. Not a single damn offer. The house looked worse every day. The grass grew high. Paint peeled off the porch steps. Even the roses she once pruned so neat were wilting brown in the sun. She stopped coming outside much. Only to drag her garbage to the curb on Wednesdays. Always looking over her shoulder, like she expected someone to jump out of the bushes. That's when I made my last move. I wrote her a letter. Old school. Handwritten. No threats. No insults. Just the truth. I told her how my dad spent his last days afraid because of her. How her selfishness stole our peace. How her note was the final thing I read the night my father died. I ended it with one line. When you die, Faye, nobody will put up a tarp for you. I mailed it without a return address. 2 days later, I watched from my window as she got it. She read it on the porch. Sank down onto the steps, clutching the paper. She didn't cry. She didn't yell. She just sat there. Looking smaller than I'd ever seen her. A few weeks later, she packed up and left town. Didn't even sell the house properly. She rented it out to some college kids who partied every weekend and trashed the place. Her name became a ghost around town. A warning. Don't be a Faye. But here's the part that still haunts me. I didn't feel better. Not really. I thought revenge would fix it. I thought it would stitch up the hole inside me. It didn't. If anything, it made the anger a permanent part of me. I can't drive past that oak tree without feeling it. Can't sit on that porch without remembering my dad gasping for air, and me too busy hating her to say something better to him. Maybe that's my real punishment. Maybe that's the part one earned. Faye lost her house, her friends, her standing. She'll die lonely, somewhere far from here. But I lost something too. I lost the chance to let go. Sometimes late at night, I wonder if Dad would have wanted me to go this far. If he would have told me to leave it alone. And sometimes I wonder if Miss Whitmore sits alone somewhere, reading that letter again and again. Maybe that's enough. Maybe that's the real revenge.